All right, up next is Justin Bloss with That's When I Knew from his Claymore album. This actually came out at the very end of last year. It was 27 December 2024. It was interesting because that landed kind of in a surprise of Justin Bloss is one of my favorite newly discovered artists in my ears over the last few years. We actually featured him on episode 26, which was the Right Now episode with his Something in the Air Tonight. If you recall, well, pause. Let me go back up for a second. Yesterday, Justin posted thanks to his girlfriend Lex, who did his artwork for this. Yesterday was her birthday, so we're recording the day after Lex's birthday, and I'll flash the album art from Claymore up there because it was so awesome. And her whole Instagram page for Lex illustration is all of these awesome, just amazing drawings, and I think the visual. His other album covers, if you remember, was like one of us like, fish hooking his face and like pulling his cheeks in other directions. And this one was very different. So I was happy because we like to talk about the artwork on this episode on these podcasts. I was happy to know like right away before we record, that's the inspiration. It's his friend and girlfriend is what I think Lex that did that. So I think that's rad. But the album dropped last year, at the very end of the year, and it's almost, it's a bit foregone conclusion to me that like this album was going to be one of my favorites. I've been following Justin and everything he's been doing. He tours a lot in the local area. He's a Tulsa artist. He hasn't quite made it up to St. Paul, at least not that I've seen yet, but I'm eagerly awaiting for when that happens. If you remember back on episode 26, it was John Moreland who he was kind of discovered by, I guess. The article in osagenews.org by Colin Combs, she wrote a piece on Justin. He talked about how he had grown up in the Tulsa area and in the Memphis area and had played shows. John Moreland saw him play and said, "Hey, would you like to come on my tour and open for me?" And like that's when like things accelerated for him pretty significantly. And I think that's when Will Johnson said, notice this, and John Moreland noticed this, and so I was like, I'm in. And Justin just nailed the kind of folky singer-songwriter stuff that I think he nailed it, but he did it in his way too. The article talks about how he played music with his brother, Jason, growing up when they were teenagers. And over, so he's been playing music for about 20 years or so, but over the last like 6 or 7 years, he's kind of morphed into something that he felt like was really what he wanted to write. And he has such a unique style that the video that you'll see is just him and the guitar. And that's the way most of his tracks are recorded. Although I'll hint, he's going to be looking at recording with maybe a full band here in a little bit. But most of his tracks are just him and the guitar with a couple, little things added with a couple exceptions. But I love how he can carry the whole stage, just all of it in a full sound with this. And I think the video of this particular song really captures that. He also sings with something that is like a vibrato in his vocals that I think is so unique, and he hits all the time. And he fills, Jeff Mangum is the next kind of artist that comes to mind in a very different genre, but fills every moment in the song with lyrics, with vocals. And I think that's such a powerful thing for a songwriter to fill the space that much. It's a very hard thing to do, I think, for me with some music to have everything just kind of top to bottom fill a song. I think that's tough. He talks about how he writes a lot, but he doesn't write just for writing's sake. He puts the pen down when he doesn't feel inspired, picks it up when he does, and sometimes he'll, really run with that. But he lets the songs kind of come to him, and that to me is really kind of cool to hear about his process. His video that I linked, I struggled actually kind of with which song to pick because he's got a ton of awesome songs on the album as well as live recordings, and he's recorded a ton of these kind of little things. But the Prairie, what was it called? The Prairie Songs version. I love the intro. When I pick songs for the podcast, I don't want to have 5 minutes of talking and then a song. I want to kind of get to the song. But he gave me just this gift of, here we are in my hometown, in my house where I grew up. I love it here. And then he goes right into the song. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. To have him sitting there where he grew up and singing on the porch and singing these extremely emotionally dripping kind of songs. It's just really powerful. I really feel like in the vein of singer-songwriter, Justin nails it for me. And it's not surprising that an artist like John Moreland, who also nails it, and an artist like Will Johnson, that will forever be somebody that I resonate with, said there's something with Justin, and that's why I paid attention. The little hint I gave you earlier that I think I posted to both you guys on the side was in about a month ago, November 29th, he dropped a track called Dark Dark. And he said, hey, this didn't really fit with my other album. And when I heard it, it's clear that it was very much more of like a full band sound. Kind of, it was giving me vibes of like Stranger's Almanac and like a lot of Slobberbone kind of feel. Like he kind of built out the album side of, or the band side of it for this track. And he said it didn't fit with this last album, but he kind of wants to record more songs this way. So from Grant to Justin, man, sign me up for wherever you're going to post those songs or whenever you're going to record those songs. Cause like, please do. He's somebody that I'm excited to see more of. I'm very excited that after years and years of him writing songs for himself, somebody like John Moreland kind of discovered him or gave him a chance to get on more of a national stage, and hopefully he'll make it up to the Midwest and up in the St. Paul at some point. But somebody that I think is just super powerful, very, very poignant with his lyrics, very poetic. I love his word choice a lot when he's singing about family. I think the line in this one is "Family's the kind of love that I just can't get," or something like that. Like it's almost like it's this like distraught yet like connected. Yet he's at his home singing about, you know, this is where he loves. This is where his family had meals and dances, and that's a special place to him, and he loves it here. So there's just so much depth to him. I think that's the word that comes to mind is depth. So hopefully. Y'all felt some resonance with this as well. Again, he's got some new stuff that'll be coming out soon, but Sean he's over in your neck of the woods with Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I know is still probably about 6 hours away from you. I mean, we grew up in Dallas too, just real quick. Tulsa, and we'll have another Tulsa artist here soon. Like, Oklahoma is a state similar to like Toronto and Philly. I didn't give a lot of credence to. I think about now that Josh Venable from the Adventure Club is a DJ in Tulsa at the Edge in Tulsa. And I was thinking about that, and we didn't ask him on whatever episode 3 that was, or 5. Like, what's it like in Tulsa? Because like Tulsa to Dallas seems like such a contrast. But man, there is just so much rich music coming out of this part of the country that I have to just admit I never gave it credence to. So I'm happy that Justin, and we'll get into Ken Pomeroy later, but they're giving Tulsa some life to me. And I'm really excited to hear more. So, Sean, I'll throw it over to you for Justin.
Okay. Well, I will skip past the fact that that you said Oklahoma is a state like Philly and Toronto, because I know you're caught up in the music, and I think that's part of what makes this fun. Is that I think sometimes you get so into a scene or into a song, an artist, and a feeling that's associated with that it's like you lose track of the other parts of it. So to me, I think that's funny, but it's also indicative of where this lands for you in the big picture. The singer-songwriter piece is really good. I mean, just so introspective, and that I think just seeing the guitarist and vocalist in their hometown, it sounded like even maybe in the backyard or in the like on their property. I'm not sure about that, but that was the vibe that I got. That just I think helps to really drive it home that like I'm playing the songs like in the place maybe where the feelings were first felt. So I liked that connection to it. And then the thing that stood out the most to me was just how solid and melodic the guitar picking is combined with his voice. So it's a pretty rich song melody-wise with just a guy and his guitar. And of course, it's not live, so you aren't hearing him in the backyard, but it does kind of give it's a rich soundscape for just a guitar and a vocal. And so it's a very talented guy. Only 3,000 plays, so still kind of under the radar in terms of the big picture of who listens to what. But my take is probably that those 3,000 listens are from some passionate fans like you. And my cat, yes, she likes it quite a lot.
That's awesome. Love that we have a guest in the room. I love this artist, Grant. I love that you found a track from him that's from this year. I mean, December last year. One of the things I did look at is like, when were these released? I didn't actually catch that it was a 2024 release. I just was looking at the months. So the fact that it was December, originally I was going to make a comment that this was the most recent release, but it's actually the earliest release, because it was right at the end of the last year. I appreciate that you did that, because as we've talked about with Earth Station and Barney's release in September, like that seems like September, October is kind of the latest we could get before we might totally miss it for 2025. It might not land on our radars until the next year. So it sort of does feel like the end of the year is around November, and then the best of is kind of beginning there. So I appreciate that. Also, just love knowing how important this artist is to you and the connections that has. I really love the knowing that it's from Oklahoma. Like it has that country feel, that sort of folk, deep South kind of feel to it. I love the dark poetry. I also love that his recent release is dark, kind of like overemphasizing his nature of dark poetry. Again, there's just a sense of longing in his voice and the harmonies that come in. I assume that's him harmonizing with himself on 2 tracks, but I don't know if there's a vocalist that he was singing with. I'd be curious to know a little bit more about that, because it seemed like Claymore was a solo release. Yeah. And the other thing, you mentioned the album art. That stood out to me right away when I saw this track, and when I looked at the album. Immediately when I look at the art, I see the ginkgo tree leaves right there, and it's specifically the ginkgo biloba of the ginkgo species. And I find this plant to be such an important plant in my life, but especially for 2025, because it's a plant that represents resiliency, especially in extreme conditions. I mean, the ginkgo tree survived the bombing of Hiroshima. After the atomic bombs dropped, those plants still live today. So that to me is like a major representation of resiliency. They're over 250 million years old from fossil records. So the art just feels like it's got this timeless nod. It could be the 70s, it could be the 20s, it could be the 1820s. It's like a softness, the sort of puddly softness combined with these very sharp drawings, along with this resilient symbol of the ginkgo. And it's also got a fusion of, like, it could be East Asian, it could be Celtic. It also looks to me a little bit like a tarot card. And I've been very focused on tarot this year. So immediately I was like, oh, this could be the High Priestess. This could be any number of different cards from the tarot that stand out to me. It could be a water card. It could be an earth card. So there's a bunch of that sort of symbolism that comes through the art, and it feels that dynamic in the music as well. So, great find. It was definitely not on my radar until now, and I'm excited to hear more of Claymore, as well as what Justin's going to release this year or soon.
Yeah, I'll leave you with when he posted the album last year. He mentioned, that he was grateful to John Moreland for the opportunity to kind of make a little extra money and probably go record an album, which is not a free thing. He said it's far from perfect, but there's tears on every track, and I feel that. He talks about how I have a lot of incredible supporters. I couldn't ask for anything more. So there's this, like, Sean, you talk about D2X and sort of like the positivity. I feel like Justin, despite like singing about probably some painful stuff, brings some the love and the community together and the representation of Tulsa and Oklahoma. I'm very grateful for it. Happy to be on the fan side of hearing whatever Justin does next. So with that said, on Spotify, you'll hear the album track from Claymore of That's When I Knew. Please check out the whole album. And when YouTube, you're going to see the live version of him doing the Prairie Songs version back in his home in Oklahoma for the same song, That's When I Knew. This is Justin Bloss.